Hello everyone, welcome back. As you can see, hopefully you can see, my wife and I are still out in beautiful Utah, just for a couple more days enjoying the spectacular scenery and weather here. But of course, I am making content for you guys every day, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about the Baker Act and your rights, or potentially lack thereof. So yesterday I had a call from a mom and a dad. They have a daughter who has been Baker Acted, and dad did a little research and started rattling off all these different sections of the Baker Act and said, you know, this right's been violated, that right's been violated. And I said, yeah, I agree with you. Your research sounds spot on. We're on the same page. I said, well, what do you want to do about it? He said, what do you mean? He said, I said, well, you're telling me about all these rights that have been violated, and I happen to agree with you. The question is, what do you want to do about it? He said, well, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to tell them. I said, you're going to go over there and tell them that this right and that right's been violated. He said, yeah. I said, and what do you think they're going to do? He said, well, what do you mean? I said, what do you think they're going to do when you go over there and tell them that they violated your daughter's rights? He said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, I mean exactly that. How do you think they're going to respond? He said, well, what do you think? I said, well, I'd say there's a very high likelihood that you're going to be escorted out of the building. And if you kick up a stink, law enforcement's going to get called and you're going to get dragged out of the building. That's my experience, but you know, I'm not here to tell you what to do. And he said, well, but there's been, you know, the rights have been violated. I said, I agree with you. We're on the same page here. I said, the question is, what do you want to do about it? Because here's the deal with rights. And I get this. I certainly understand and I appreciate what the dad did. And I agree with his research. And look, you can go read the Baker Act statute online. You don't need me to tell you, you know, what it contains. You can go read it yourself. I mean, if you want me to boil it down for you, I mean, I got about 1,000 videos on YouTube that do that. But here's the point. Rights are enforceable ink on a paper. How's that? Maybe that's the right way to describe it, right? It's either something that's in the statute, like the Baker Act statute, given to us, granted to us, whatever language you want to use, by the legislature when they drafted the legislation and when the governor signed off on it, or it's contained in our Florida Constitution, or maybe even in our federal Constitution. But here's the point. Unless you're willing to go into court and complain to a judge, then it's just ink on a paper. It really is. It's like the tree that fell in the forest and no one was there to see it fall. Did it even really fall? Does it even really matter? Because when you're dealing with the Baker Act, you're dealing with the state, right? Even though this entity that has his daughter is a for-profit private entity, they are a licensed agent of the state's mental health system. They have a license granted to them by the state, which says they can lock people up and detain them, just like the local sheriff or the Department of Corrections. Right? They can lock you up. They can forcibly medicate you. They can do all kinds of horrible things to you. And then if they don't feel like they want to let you go, they can go to court, just like I can go to court, and they can look to keep you. So when families call me and say, oh, 72 hours is the maximum, I'm like, no, 72 hours isn't the maximum. It's the minimum. It's just the beginning. It's not the end. Now, does that mean that nobody ever gets released after 72 hours? Of course not. Some people do. The question is, are you willing to take that risk? Especially when the facts are not on your side. And that's part of obviously calling us and, you know, having a conversation with us and giving us, you know, all the facts. So we can tell you whether or not it looks like they're going to be kept. And again, you can go on YouTube. I've got a bunch of videos all about, you know, red flags and what things you should look for if you want to, you know, figure out if they're likely to keep your loved one. But the point is, if you're not willing to go into court and tell a judge that certain rights have been violated, it doesn't really matter. And by the way, if you're going to march into the facility and say, oh, you did this, you did that, what do you think they're going to do after you've been escorted out of the building? They're going to go into the medical records, your child's records, and they're going to make sure that their I's are dotted and their T's are crossed. So when they go into court and tell the judge they want to keep her for another 2 weeks or a month or 3 months, that those so-called rights violations have now been corrected. You're going in there, you're going to tip your hand. Okay, I don't like to do that. I don't even like clients telling the facility they've hired a lawyer, because now you're just going to tip the facility off and they're going to fix all the problems that are in the case, and they're going to start documenting and making things worse. They're also going to potentially deny your loved one medications if they're on medications, right? So that they intentionally destabilize them. So please, I hope that you heed these words. It's based on 32 years of practicing law and having spoken to thousands and thousands and thousands of families, and I've had my own family member Baker Acted too. So I know what this feels like. So anyway, those are my words of wisdom for you today. If you want to get your loved one's rights enforced, if you want to get them out, the best way to do so is to fight like hell. to get them out. If you're not willing to do that, that's okay. This is a no judgment zone. But that's my 2 cents. I appreciate you tuning in. One last thing, in a link to this video is our brand new ebook. It's there for free. You give us your name, your email, we send it to you. If you like this content, please give me a thumbs up. It helps with the Google algorithm. It means we get it out to more people. And if you want more of this content that I make every single day for you, even when I'm in Utah, please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.